It was a cold and rainy night, typical of a harsh autumn. Emily had just gotten off work and was exhausted after a long, stressful day. She was eager to get back to her cozy apartment and take refuge from the nasty weather outside. Whenever it rained, the city seemed darker and more mysterious, and Emily preferred to be indoors. Emily took out her cell phone and opened the Uber app. She entered her destination, typing in her apartment address, and waited for the driver. The streetlights were dim due to the rain, creating an even gloomier atmosphere than usual. Emily felt shivers run down her spine as she waited on the damp sidewalk. Finally, the app found an available driver. The name that appeared on the screen was Tom, and the photo showed a middle-aged man with gray hair and a gentle smile. Emily sighed in relief to see that her driver seemed to be someone trustworthy. Minutes later, a black car parked in front of Emily. The vehicle's lights came on, revealing the driver, who had a sympathetic look on his wrinkled face. "Hello, Emily," he said in a soft voice. "I'm Tom, your driver. How are you tonight?" Emily was a little surprised, as she didn't remember entering her name into the app, but she dismissed the strange feeling and replied, "I'm fine. Thank you. Let's go to apartment address." Tom nodded and started driving. The journey began in silence, with Emily looking out the window at the wet city streets. She was eager to get home and get rid of the gloomy atmosphere. However, as the journey continued, Emily began to notice something strange. The car appeared to be heading in the opposite direction to her apartment. She looked at the app on her phone and noticed that the destination that appeared was completely different from the address she'd entered. "Wait a minute," Emily said, her nervousness beginning to increase. "Where are we going? This is not my destination." Tom didn't respond immediately. He drove in silence, never looking away from the dark, rain-soaked road. Emily's feeling of discomfort increased, and she began to panic. "Please stop the car," she begged, her voice shaking. Tom finally turned his gaze to Emily, but his once friendly smile had turned into a grim expression. "You don't understand, Emily. You're special, and there's something I need from you." Emily felt a chill run down her spine as Tom's words sank into her mind. She couldn't understand what he meant by special and why he was taking her away from her original destination. Her instincts were screaming at her that something was terribly wrong, and she needed to find a way to escape this terrifying situation. As the car continued to move away from the destination Emily had entered into the app, her heart beat faster. She picked up her cell phone, determined to call the police or someone who could help her, but her cell phone had no signal. Despair began to take over her. "Please stop the car," Emily begged again, this time with more urgency. Tom continued to drive, ignoring her pleas. His eyes remained fixed on the dark and wet road, and his expression became more and more sinister. Emily realized that she was trapped in a nightmare, a situation in which an Uber driver had become her captor. Emily's mind began working quickly, trying to find a way to escape. She looked around the car for any clues or objects she could use to defend herself. The interior of the car was clean and organized, with no objects in sight that could help her. Then her eyes fell on the glove compartment. With shaking hands, she opened it and found a screwdriver. She took it firmly, feeling her heart speed up even more. It was the only weapon she had, and she was willing to use it to protect herself. The car continued to advance along the dark road, with rain hitting the windshield. Emily knew she needed to wait for the right moment to act. She didn't want to rush in and risk her life. Finally, Tom slowed down as he approached a red light on a deserted street. Emily saw her opportunity and, with all the strength she had, attacked Tom with the screwdriver. He screamed in pain as the fight raged inside the car. The car veered off the road and hit a light pole, causing the airbag to inflate. Emily took the opportunity to open the door and exit the vehicle in a panic. The rain continued to fall, drenching her as she ran down the wet street, not looking back. Tom was injured in the crashed car, unable to immediately pursue her. Emily knew she needed to find a safe place and get help as quickly as possible. Desperately, she ran towards a gas station, which was a few blocks away. Her heart was still pounding, and she couldn't believe what had just happened. She needed the police and someone she could trust. As Emily walked into the gas station looking for help, she had no idea of the mystery surrounding Tom and why he had chosen her as his victim on that terrifying night. She just wanted to survive and put that dark experience behind her. The gas station was lit up, and Emily felt momentary relief as she entered the place. Drops of rain dripped off her soaked clothes as she approached the counter where an attendant was busy arranging products on the shelves. "Please, you need to help me," Emily begged, her voice shaking. "I was chased by an Uber driver. He's trying to hurt me." The attendant, a stout, middle-aged man, looked at Emily with concern and immediately picked up the phone to call the police. Emily described the incident and the location of the crashed car, hoping authorities would arrive as soon as possible. While waiting for the police to arrive, Emily sat in a nearby chair, trying to catch her breath. She couldn't believe the frightening turn her night had taken. She was grateful to have escaped that car and to have found help in time. Minutes later, police sirens echoed through the gas station. 2 police officers entered the scene, identifying themselves and listening to Emily's report. They quickly drove off toward the scene of the accident, where they found Tom still trapped inside his damaged vehicle. Tom was arrested by authorities and taken into custody. Emily was taken to the police station to provide a more detailed statement about the incident. Emily's story soon became local news, shocking the community and warning about the dangers of sharing personal information with strangers on ride-hailing apps. As the investigation progressed, a mystery hung over Tom. Why had he chosen Emily as his victim? How did he know her name? And what was her real motive for terrorizing her? Emily was terrified by the idea that Tom was still out there, waiting for his next opportunity to do more harm. She tried hard to overcome the trauma of that dark night, but the feeling that something was unfinished tormented her. However, she was also grateful to have escaped with her life and to have found help in time. Experience had taught her the importance of being alert and vigilant, even in seemingly safe situations. The legal battle against Tom was just beginning, and Emily was determined to make sure he would never be able to terrorize another person again. She was determined to face her fears and continue her life with courage, knowing that the dark night she faced danger had changed her forever. Tom's arrest marked the beginning of a rigorous investigation. Police were determined to unravel the mysteries surrounding the Uber driver and ensure he faced the consequences of his terrifying action. As Emily cooperated with authorities, she continued to question the true nature of the man who stalked her that fateful night. As the investigation progressed, new details began to emerge. It turned out that the driver's real name was not Tom, as he had introduced himself, but rather David Reynolds. He had a criminal history, including accusations of kidnapping and attempted murder in his past. Authorities soon discovered that he had falsified information to work as an Uber driver, raising concerns about passenger safety across the country. Even more disturbing was the fact that David had detailed personal information about Emily, including her name, address, and even her past Uber travel history. The origin of this information remained a mystery, and Emily couldn't understand how he knew so much about her. While David was in custody, he refused to talk about her motives or how he had obtained such intimate information about Emily. He remained silent, casting a dark look at his interrogators, as if he were hiding even deeper secrets. Emily, in turn, was determined to discover the truth behind the nightmare she had lived through. She hired a private investigator to help her track down the origins of David's information and understand why he had targeted her. As the investigation progressed, investigators discovered that David was involved in a criminal network that used ride-hailing passenger information to commit crimes, including kidnappings and extortion. They had hacked the systems of several transportation companies, gaining access to confidential user data. David's motive behind choosing Emily still remained unclear. He never revealed his real intentions, keeping his motives hidden. The terrifying experience left deep scars on Emily, who struggled to regain a sense of safety and normality in her life. As David's trial approached, Emily prepared to face him in court. She was determined to ensure that he was convicted and that no one else fell into the hands of this criminal network. Judgment Day arrived, and Emily courageously testified about her harrowing experience. David was found guilty of several crimes, including kidnapping, impersonation, and theft of personal information. He was sentenced to spend the remainder of his life in prison, where he would no longer pose a threat to society. The legal battle had come to an end, but Emily's emotional scars would remain forever. She had faced terror and darkness that night, and her determination turned her into an advocate for passenger safety on ride-hailing apps. Emily shared her story at public events and media, warning people about the potential dangers that can arise when sharing personal information with strangers. She hoped her experience could help protect others from facing the same nightmare as her. The dark night Emily faced danger turned her from victim to survivor, and she was determined to use her experience to make a positive impact on the world. She learned the importance of remaining vigilant and never underestimating the dangers that can lurk in the shadows of the night.